Busan National University as a graduate student in computer engineering. I've lived in Korea for over 7 years and I even run my own business now, a company that is developing a platform based on artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. From my experience, I can say with an absolutely certainty that Busan was the best place for me to start my business, thanks to the specialized blockchain zone. In the past 7 years, Busan has become my second home and I obviously love it here. Global City Busan, we are in it together. This campaign was brought to you by BFM, 부산영어방송.
During the hot summer season, typhoons can make landfall here in Korea unexpectedly. To prepare for this type of situation, please follow these guidelines. First, close all doors and windows and stay inside. Listen to your radio or tune into your TV for more information and keep your weather radio handy.
태풍은 내일 새벽 3시.
Avoid dangerous places such as flood-prone areas and landslide hazard areas. Turn off all utilities such as gas and appliances. Do not go near construction sites or any hazardous areas where you may get swept away by rapids. Let's keep these things in mind so that we can all have a safe, hot summer season. This is brought to you by BFM, 부산영어방송.
The time is now 2 o'clock.
Welcome to BFM News at 2. I'm David Kim. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism announced today that South Korea plans to launch an AI-driven online platform by 2027 to provide courses from its government-backed Korean language learning centers, addressing the rising demand for Korean language education. This initiative is part of the government's 2024 to 27 strategy to enhance the King Sejong Institute, which has been promoting the Korean language and culture globally since 2007, named after the king who created the Korean alphabet, Hangul. According to data released today, in 2022, South Korean senior citizens received an average monthly pension of 650,000 won, which is significantly below the minimum living expense requirements. Statistics Korea reported that 90.4% of those aged 65 and older received pensions from various programs, with an average pension seeing an 8.3% annual increase. However, the National Pension Research Institute estimates that at least 1.24 million won per month is needed for basic living, highlighting the insufficiency of current pension payments. In local news, Busan City announced that a civil defense evacuation drill will take place across the city today from 2 p.m. to 2:20 p.m. This drill is designed to help citizens familiarize themselves with emergency procedures in case of an air raid. The drill will proceed in the order of air raid alert, warning alert, and then the all clear signal. All citizens of Busan are expected to participate. When the air raid alert sounds at 2 o'clock p.m., everyone must evacuate to the nearest civil defense shelter, such as underground parking lots, for 15 minutes and listen to the drill updates through broadcasts. Public institutions, companies, public facilities, schools, and apartments will disseminate the drill information to citizens via internal broadcasting systems like radios. Information on civil defense shelters can be found on platforms like Naver, Kakao, TMAP, and National Disaster and Safety Portal, and the Safe Stepping Stone app. Local districts will operate a demonstration shelter to educate the public on emergency procedures. The radiation levels in Busan's waters have remained below safety limits. The Busan city government said today that their monitoring and analysis system confirms that both the sea and seafood in Busan are still safe. The city has been regularly testing seawater at 25 different locations in the Busan area. Results showed that radiation levels have not changed since before the release. The Health and Environment Research Institute and local university labs are analyzing seawater from 14 key locations, including Haeundae, Gwangali, Darepo, and Songdo. The city of Busan said today that traffic in the second Mandok Tunnel, which connects Mandok-dong in Bukgu and Oncheon-dong in Dongnaegu, will be controlled from August the 28th to September the 6th due to fire safety construction work. The project involves installing emergency power outlets within the tunnel to enable quick firefighting responses in case of disasters and to prevent accidents. Traffic control will affect the direction from Mandok to Oncheon-dong and will take place from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. to minimize disruption during peak rush hours. One lane will be closed while the other will remain open for public use. In international news, Bangladesh is set to announce an increase in interest rates from 8.5% to 9% within the next day or two, according to an exclusive interview with the new central bank chief, Dr. Ahsan H. Mansour, on the BBC. Dr. Mansour mentioned that he plans to raise rates further to 10% or higher in the coming months to address rising inflation. And now taking a look at the weather here, with the entire nation under a special heat wave advisory, most regions are experiencing perceived temperatures ranging from 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. Busan is under a heat wave warning with the mercury currently averaging 31 degrees Celsius. And that'll have to do it for this hour's news. Thank you for joining. You're listening to BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Coming up next is 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Great Korean dishes can be found virtually anywhere in this vibrant country. You can find them with street vendors along narrow alleyways to the classiest restaurants within the five-star hotels, as that is. A lot of these delicacies have existed for actually more than 2,000 years and were only consumed by Korean royal families. Thankfully, times have changed. Korean food has become so popular with locals and tourists alike that it's described as anything from savory to spicy to hearty and nutritious delights that can be enjoyed at any time of the day. And I am one of those people who enjoys it any time of the day too. Today we're going to talk about great Korean dishes. It's Thursday, August 22nd. This is the 2 p.m. Reboot. Let's get it started. You're listening to the 2 p.m. Reboot, and I'm your host, Casey McKeever. That song was Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran, and that song did well for Ed Sheeran. Despite being about bad habits, it got him some good rewards. He actually won Best Song at the 2021 MTV Europe Music Awards, and he also took the Best Artist trophy home from the ceremony, so well done. And he actually decided to open the Brit Awards in 2022 with that song, except a little bit amped up. He had the rock band Bring Me the Horizon and a bunch of dancers join him to help deliver a more thunderous version of this song. They actually wanted him to do Bad Habits, but he had played the song so many times, so he was afraid his performance would be just kind of predictable. So Sheeran told his manager he'd do it with a rock band. And in his mind, Bring Me the Horizon was the biggest English rock band in England, so why not ask them to play along? And they did. And thank you for playing along with us today. You're listening to us live in the studio here in Busan on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome to the program. We're broadcasting here on BEFM 90.5 in Busan and 103.3 FM in the Gijang, Jeongwan, and Noksan areas. Also, we're broadcasting in Seoul on TBS EFM 101.3 FM and in Gwangju on GGN 98.7 FM. And thanks for joining us wherever you might be today. You can also join us on YouTube if you like. If you go to youtube.com, just search BEFM or Busan영어방송, and you can find us right there. Today I'm a little more subdued in some, I don't know, what color is this? Khaki? khaki shirt. Buttoned up, though. I tried to be a little bit classy for you today. But I do want to let you know, if you join us on YouTube, there is a music copyright issue, so we can't stream the music during the broadcast, so the songs will be muted, and we apologize for the inconvenience. Of course, the show is completely uninterrupted on FM radio, and we also have a smartphone app you can download. You can go to the App Store on your phone. Doesn't matter what phone, doesn't matter what App Store, and you can search BEFM or 부산영어방송. Download the app, and you can log in, leave us some comments as well, but you can also take the show wherever you want to go. You can listen to us on the subway or wherever you might be, and I hope you listen today because we've got a lot coming up for you on the show today. In hour number 1, we've got Hot Off the Press coming up. That will be 2 new songs that have been recently released, and we'll give you some information about the artists and the track. And also today, because today's Thursday, we've got Parenting 101 with Michael Garrett. He'll be coming in to talk about childcare and parenting and all about his experience. And that'll be a lot of good fun to see Michael. I haven't seen him in a while, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. In hour number 2, we're going to have our daily list. And if you were listening to the beginning of the show, you could tell the topic today was going to be about Korean dishes. All right, it's no secret. If you listen to the show at all, you probably heard me talk about food a lot. I was just talking about nakgopse yesterday with Jimmy during All Around Busan segment. And perhaps that's why that's on my mind today. Will that be one of the great Korean dishes? You'll have to wait and see, because that's what we're going to cover on today's daily list. We'll have a list of great Korean dishes. And of course, I'm curious what Korean dishes you like as well. So, feel free to let me know what you think are great Korean dishes. And because today is Thursday, we also do Inside Korea today. We're going to have some stories to give us a little bit of update on the country that we live in. We'll talk about some news, some culture, some events. And don't be surprised, one of the things we're going to talk about today in Inside Korea is Korean food. There's talk of a Korean snack shop opening in Spain to promote Korean culture. So we'll check that out, as well as another story. And at the end of the show, we always have our perfect playlist. This week, the theme has been songs about freedom. You can think about it this way today. We have the freedom to eat whatever we want, usually, right? This country is very convenient. Doesn't matter how late, you can order pretty much anything you want, right? So freedom is something that comes in many forms, whether it's, the way to think, the way to act, the way to be, or what you want to eat, right? So we'll have 2 more songs for you today on the theme of freedom. And I will be checking your messages throughout the show. I see some hellos there in the YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. And also, good afternoon to you, Choi Hee-suk Nim. So you can reach us here a variety of ways. But what do you want to tell me? Well, I've got a question of the day for you. Imagine you've got some foreign friends, right? Think about this. What Korean food would you really want to introduce to your foreign friends? But also why? 외국인 친구에게 꼭 소개하고 싶은 한국 음식과 그 이유는 무엇인가요? So you can reach us here if you can reach us at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 100 won. You can reach us for free via KakaoTalk if you just search BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you can add us and send us messages that way. Or as I mentioned before, we do have our very own smartphone app you can download in your app store and reach us that way after you log in. And of course, you can send us messages on the Notube as well. And I can check those. I apologize if I can't get to every message. They kind of come pretty quickly. They're fast and furious on the internet. But what do you want to tell me? What kind of food would you recommend to a foreigner, right? I have nakgopse stuck in my brain. So I was thinking about that. Would I introduce that to foreign friends? Perhaps, if they are in the mood for something fairly spicy and unusual. But a lot of my foreign friends, I don't know. I'm not sure if they would be into that kind of thing. So I thought one great thing I could introduce to my Korean or my non-Korean friends, my foreign friends, would be banchan. I would pick like a small variety of banchan dishes. Like I think anybody would enjoy japchae the first time they eat it. I think nobody would complain about japchae. And perhaps one that I think everybody would also enjoy is 그거. I really like this. 메추리알 조림. What do you think? Are those two like solid choices you think anybody could just try for the first time and enjoy? That's what I'm going to go with. Let me know what you think. And I do want to let you know as well, there is still a heat wave warning in effect in most parts of the country. So please be careful out there. Avoid outdoor activities as much as possible. If you go out, wear light clothing, wear a wide-brimmed hat, and try to carry a water bottle with you. If you're at construction sites, strictly adhere to safety rules such as getting enough water, getting enough shade, and getting enough rest, and try to actively implement heat wave break times during the hottest hours. Thoroughly prepare for the heat wave by drinking enough water and taking short breaks whenever possible. And if you do have symptoms such as dizziness, nausea, or a headache, find a cool place to take a rest. So everybody be safe out there. And we're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Habits, another song about habits, but this one by Genevieve Stokes. And then we'll be back with Hot Off the Press. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot, and you just heard the song Habits by Genevieve Stokes, and now it is time for Hot Off the Press. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. We bring you two of the newest and hottest tracks from around the world of music, and there are so many songs to keep up with all the time. We know, it's not easy, but we try to pick songs we think you'll enjoy, and our first song definitely fits into that category. This song will be All by Snow Patrol, and this was a new single released just last week. It's the third song to be shared from Snow Patrol's forthcoming new album, The Forest is the Path, which is set to be released on September 13th. And this marks the Northern Ireland's band's eagerly awaited return after 6 years. Their last release was 2018's Wildness, so they've been working at it for a while apparently. And speaking about the new single, according to lead vocalist and my favorite name of the day, Gary Lightbody, all was written by record producer Fraser T. Smith and myself in late November of 2022. This was almost exactly a year before we would ask Fraser to produce the album. The first time we recorded the album, it didn't work out, and then we would then ask Fraser to step into the producer's chair in December of 2023, and he was a dream to work with. So sometimes, the finished product takes a while to get done, but they did it. Our second song for today is called Cascading by Moss Kana, and this British singer-songwriter has attracted acclaim from the likes of everyone from Kendrick Lamar to Elton John to Zane Lowe to Lenny Kravitz. His mega-hit collaboration with Purple Disco Machine's song Fireworks has been streamed well over 200 million times worldwide and counting. Not bad. He's also been a multi-platinum #1 radio hit across Europe, and he's toured with the likes of Bastille, Louis Capaldi, Rita Ora, Jess Glynn. Moss Kana is clearly an artist and performer now at the top of his game. He's been enchanting audiences globally with his crystal clear vocal performance and infectious star appeal, and you can judge for yourself. We're going to listen to first today on Hot Off the Press, All by Snow Patrol, followed by Cascading by Moss Kana. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. That song was Cascading by Moss Kana. And if you're watching me on the NawTube, you just saw my shoulders, had to get involved with that. I was just bouncing a little bit. That was very catchy. And before that, you heard All by Snow Patrol. And those are our two songs for Hot Off the Press for today. And I got some messages about today's question of the day, which was, what Korean food would you really want to introduce to your foreign friends and why? 외국인 친구에게 꼭 소개하고 싶은 한국 음식과 그 이유는 무엇인가요? So I got some answers that I didn't think of. I was thinking like, I was trying to go obscure, like 메추리알 조림? Yeah, I don't know. But that was what popped into my mind. But I've got from 4625님 who says, 막걸리 and 모듬전. So 모듬전, oh yes, we've got that on the screen there if you're watching us on the tube there. That's 모듬전. Okay. So that's like everything basically deep fried. Americans would love that. Americans deep fry like Snickers bars and stuff like that, and anything. Cheesecake. I've had deep fried cheesecake before. So yes, 모듬전. I think that would go over with a lot of people from other countries as well. I think you can deep fry everything and it would be good. 4625님 says, this kind of food, makgeolli and 모듬전, is perfect for this rainy and cloudy day, and I've never seen a foreign friend who does not like it. Yeah, so would this be kind of like Chuseok food or Salal food? Yeah, I've had it like special times of the year. And yes, I'm one of those greedy people who are like, I'm eating it all before everybody else. So I would agree. That's definitely wonderful choice. Let's see what else we got here. 1437nim says, hi, Casey. Well, hello. There's some breezes through. It's still hot and humid. I totally agree. I rode a motorcycle here. It was hot despite the wind. Only heals time as autumn is coming. So soon afterwards, I hope. In relation to today's topic, I'm a huge fan of Korean cuisine, so I'd like to introduce as many dishes as I can. But if I'm forced to pick only one or two, I would take my foreign friends to the table with a variety of namul dishes. Namul. Namul would be like a lot of beans, right? Bean sprouts and those brown things I would never know how to... I think it's like burdock or something like that in English, which nobody has ever heard of. But yeah, namul's good. Yeah, that's like the basic ingredients that you need for bibimbap, right? And 1437nim says, not only are they delicious, but they're very healthy. Yeah, so that's the key, right? We don't want, there's namul. Yeah, and what is that? It looks like spinach. Is it spinach? Namul. Okay, cool. So namul can include things like spinach, and it looks like maybe some, not oi. What is that? Ehobak, maybe. Ehobak. Mike, help me. What is ehobak in English? Some zucchini.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
And mushrooms.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff that can be namul. 신기하죠. Very cool. So thank you for your messages there. 저금통 is going for something I think a little bit more well known. 저금통님 says bibimbap and bulgogi. Yeah, because a lot of foreigners, of course, as Jogumtong says, it depends on the person, of course. There are so many different kinds of people from all over the world. But in general, bibimbap and bulgogi, mostly because they are my personal favorites. Jogumtong, you do you. Yeah, that's right. You make people what you want to eat. There's nothing wrong with that. They like it or they don't. That's fine with that. Choi Hee-suk-nim says, I think doenjang jjigae suits my taste and it's easy to make and it's supposed to have good health properties. I believe it does. It tastes good, so that's good enough for me. Yeah, so doenjang jjigae would be another one I think a lot of people would enjoy. If you got something you'd like to let us know, some kind of Korean food that you would like to introduce to a foreign friends and why, send us a message here at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 101. You could reach us for free via Kakao Talk or our very own smartphone app. If you just search BEFM or 부산영어방송, you can download the app in your app store and you can just add us as a friend on Kakao Talk and send us messages that way. And of course, you can send us messages there on the NawTube as well. And I'm going to ask Mike about his personal choice after the short break, because we'll be right back with Parenting 101 and Mike. Welcome back, everybody. That music means it is time for Parenting 101, and I'm here with Michael in the studio. Welcome. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, Casey?
I'm pretty good. I'm getting hungry. I can't imagine why.
All these pictures of the modem.
Modem. Are you a Modem John fan?
The second picture that the PD put up was not my jam.
The
first
namu.
one, yeah. No. The second modem John.
Oh, I guess I missed
Just the kind of dry, kind of over fried one. I've definitely had that, and then it's just like I'm like, where's the juice? Because I got a desert going on in my
How is
mouth.
that possible? There's oil all over it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I wonder if that would be like sometimes like the sweet potato variety of that
Yeah.
gets a little overly dry.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that
And
the one?
You got to be careful.
Yeah, there's a
So-
limit to how much you can jun something.
You're right. And you're saying we have a high tolerance as Americans for the fried food.
Fry your fingers. I mean, it's possible. Americans will eat anything. Finger food, for
Yeah,
sure.
they might be a little bit surprised about what was fried, though. Like all
Yeah.
the veggies, they'd be like, how come you're not frying more
Right.
potatoes?
Why would
And-
you eat vegetables to begin with?
Yeah,
Right.
and the
Americans.
mushroom one would be kind of surprising, probably.
Yeah, but I guarantee, like, once you throw it in that batter and then, throw it in boiling oil, they'll eat it.
Yeah.
Right? Just don't tell them what it is.
Yeah.
Don't tell them it's vegetables. I seriously, one of my cousins, she is a grown woman and she's in the medical industry. She's a nurse. And she's like, I don't eat vegetables. I was like, what?
That actually ties in with the theme of today for Parenting 101, actually.
Perfect. Look at this. Are we going to lecture my cousin? Because I would love to.
No, the really similar thing in this is that sometimes we're going to talk today about influencers.
Okay.
Parenting advice influencers on social media.
Ooh, okay. Gotcha. This seems like a topic that could get a little bit divisive, whether
Yeah.
you follow influencers or not. You can probably guess how many of them I follow.
Right. And so my first question is, as a parent,
Yes.
When you don't know what to do exactly in a situation, which I don't know, does that happen pretty much daily for you?
Oh yeah, like right now you're asking me, I'm like, I don't know how to answer this.
Where do you go for advice when you don't know what to do as a parent?
Okay, I'll be honest. I'd use a very popular search. What do they call that? A search engine?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. There's very old terminology for that, right? Should they say something engine? Why would they pick that of all things? Search
Yeah.
engine. So yes, I use a very popular search engine, and then I try to narrow it down to results that actually come from children's hospitals.
Yes.
Yeah, so I look for like .org or what is it for hospitals? Usually org, I think. Yeah, so
And there's the ones that if you're searching frequently, you kind of get used to the certain websites that come
Cleveland
up, right?
Hospital always comes up.
Yeah.
Seattle Children's Hospital always comes up.
Yeah.
I'm very American-centric, it sounds like. Sorry.
Well, the particular engine that you're using probably does.
You're right. That
Yeah.
engine.
Yeah.
That definitely drives the American economy for sure.
Yeah, so for my parents' generation in the U.S., it was like all the parents had these childcare Bibles
Oh, right.
on the shelves. Did
Dr.
your parents?
Spock.
That's exactly right. So Dr. Spock, we had that. The book that Dr. Benjamin Spock put out
Right.
was called Baby and Childcare.
Yeah, in case you're thinking it's Star Trek, it's not that Spock. It's
It's a very different
Yes.
Spock.
Yes.
Both kind of nerdy.
Same
but in
ears.
different. Yes, that's
Very pointy.
very pointy ears. So Dr. Spock, he first published in the 1940s, so you can imagine what's in the original books and how inaccurate a lot of stuff is.
1940s?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then so he's like updating. There's like something in the 58 was like a big one, and then in the 80s when he was kind of older, there was a lot of times where he would be saying, "All right, I know I said do this,
But
but recent research for example, he said that you should always put your baby to sleep on its stomach because it would be less likely to choke on its vomit in the middle of the night." And then now we know that actually that increases the likelihood of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, quite a bit. So it's much more dangerous to have a baby sleep on its stomach
Right.
with its head to the side, smothering, asphyxiation. But that was his advice in the original book. So
okay, Dr. Spock. I'll do that.
yeah, so there's a lot of apologies coming out later, and that's the game with the parenting advice. It's very dangerous, right? Because
Yeah.
you what you're telling people to do could have very big consequences for the people who are doing them. He also in his original books had things like if you're a mother, you should probably quit your job. Like, and then
wow.
so in later
Back in the
on,
days of the early engines, before the search engines. Yeah, quit your job. But yeah,
Yeah.
that would not fly with today's women, I think.
Yeah. So it's not a 2024 piece of advice. And so now it's all about what people are calling online momfluencers.
Oh, no.
Mommy influencers.
No.
I don't really see this out there. There should be also dadfluencers, but I guess that's not really a term because dads don't make this content very much, I guess.
What is that? Come on, Dr. Spock was a pioneer, right?
I know, right?
Come on, men, get with it. But I guess I can imagine why, because as fathers, right?
Yes.
Do you ever talk to other dads about what you do and stuff?
Oh, yeah, a bit. Yeah. I don't know if it's too much with giving advice. It's more like sharing war stories.
Exactly. That's why we don't give advice, because we're always like traumatized and inflicting trauma on our children.
Yeah.
So we really don't have any advice to give, except maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did.
It's like, let me
Perhaps.
tell you about the time I made my kids cry.
Right. Today.
Yeah, earlier today.
Right.
So, yeah, anyway, so Momfluencers, do you have any kind of social media accounts that you, like, quote unquote, follow or subscribe to, depending on what site it is that they are posting on?
No.
No, this is
All
not
of
for
the
you.
above, no.
Yeah, I am also not really somebody who dabbles in this world. I don't
Yeah.
really swim in these waters, but I did in preparation for this segment because I was curious about it.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, and there is every kind of advice that you can think of. It's out there.
Right, I bet.
And that's really actually the modern problem. It used to be that everybody had the one book, right? The Dr. Spock book. And
Right.
then if there's something wrong in there, then we're all doing it the wrong way and there's a problem. And now it's just that there's like 10 different pieces of advice for the same problem.
Sure.
And then you're going, like you said, when you're searching and then you're going, which website do I look at for advice for this particular problem? Because there's about 100 results that come up.
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit later about why you need to be a bit careful when you're following advice that you're seeing on social media. And how the videos, they look very professionally done, but then sometimes the content of it is a little bit questionable.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But a lot of parents these days, they are following content providers who are not only experienced parents themselves, but also they have professional training. That's
For real?
Yeah, that's a trend since COVID, is that it used to be that you would follow just somebody who is kind of putting out almost like home videos of their parenting.
Right.
So it'll be like, here's breakfast in our house, like a handheld feeling. And then, how you feeling, Brian? And he's like, oh, I'm eating my cereal.
I'm performing for the camera at an early age.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Without giving my permission.
Yeah, right.
We're already doing the problems with this. But so for example, to go through some of the most popular social media parenting gurus, there's Cara Dumaplin. She's a mother of 4, and she's also a labor and delivery nurse.
Okay, so medical background.
Right. So you want to have that as the check on there, too. So you're not just following advice from somebody who has no background in these kinds of things.
What is your background? I like being on camera.
Yeah, and right. And there's Becky Kennedy. That's a clinical psychologist, and then she specializes in working with overwhelmed parents.
Okay.
And so her advice comes from years and years of professional experience and also a lot of training. So sometimes they even team up to make a channel, as did registered dietitian nutritionist Megan McNamee and occupational therapist Judy Delaware. They give advice on what to feed your children. There's a lot of posts about eating and cooking for your children, not eating your children.
No, don't do that.
The way I said that.
Yeah, that was a questionable advice coming from Michael Garrett right there.
Feeding your children and cooking for your children, and the way your children are eating. So actually, let's listen to a couple of clips so that you get a really good idea of what these posts kind of sound like. And this first one is going to come from Cara Dumaplin. She uses her name as part of her nice title. It's Taking Cara Babies, because her name's Cara.
Very clever.
So clever in that. And here she is. She's talking about her favorite subject and what she's really an expert on, which is putting babies to sleep.
If I could go back and tell myself one thing that I know now after having 4 kids and looking at all the research, I'd say this. Cara, it doesn't matter if that baby is 5 months old or 15 years old. Those tears will pull at your heart. They're supposed to. However, as a parent, you must just step back and say, I know what is best for this baby.
Yeah, I was cringing because I knew she was going to say that.
Yeah.
It's like basically her advice is something that I would say most parents maybe struggle with. You want to stop those tears.
Yes.
For whatever the reason they are coming from, whether it's tiredness or hunger, or sometimes you don't even know. You want to do whatever you need to do to make that stop because you think you're doing the right thing. But she's saying sometimes you just got to go with your decision.
Yeah, she struggled with this herself. She talked about this. Even though she was a nurse in the beginning, her baby actually woke up every hour. Then what she would do is she would feed it every time it woke up and cried. And so she wasn't sleeping at all for months in the beginning.
I got shingles that way.
Yeah, I
shingles.
remember you showed up to my house with.
Hey, I got shingles.
I got shingles. Oh, yep, you're a new dad.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
Sleep is important.
Yeah, and so she was talking about how sometimes you have to let them cry and learn how to put themselves to sleep and comfort
Right.
themselves, and that they aren't actually in need of milk every hour.
No, why would they be?
Yeah, and then they just want that comfort and they want to put themselves to sleep. They get used to putting themselves to sleep while they're feeding.
Right.
And then so when they wake up and they're a little bit cranky, they just cry and then you give it to them and then it becomes this habit. So one of her pieces of advice is to be a little bit, it's really hard for a parent, but to be a little bit hard-hearted and listen to those cries from the next room.
All right. Well, I tell you what, this is a great place to take a song break. PD has picked a very curious choice for a song. What can you give a baby? Not a lollipop. Oh, that's what we're going to listen to. We're gonna listen to Lollipop by the Chordettes. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more Parenting 101. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. That song was Lollipop by the Chordettes, and we're back with Michael Garrett for Parenting 101. Michael, do you give your kids lollipops?
Lollipops are not the favorite thing. We have a lot of ice cream.
Ah, that's the substitute.
You know, like those, you buy them at the store in bulk and then you freeze them. They're like the little push pop things.
Yeah. Wasn't it like kind of little plastic thing?
Yeah.
Kind of squeeze them out.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. They'll have about like maybe 6 of those a day.
6?
This is not advice again.
This is terrible advice. Right now, dentists everywhere are like, oh my gosh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
Yes, so we want to make sure, what we were talking about before the break was some advice from Kara Dumaplin, I believe her name was, right?
Yes.
And what was the channel name? It was very
Taking
clever.
care of babies.
Taking Kara.
Kara.
Because Kara.
Yep.
Hey now.
Yay. So
her advice was basically you got to learn to let your kids cry sometimes because you have to just be confident that you make the right decision. So every time they wake up, you don't have to give them milk, or certainly don't give them a lollipop every time they wake up.
Yeah, and certainly I don't think that she was suggesting that what you do is ignore them for the entire night.
No.
There are certain situations where the baby's cries are indicators that there's something wrong. And
Yeah,
you
like
gotta,
a different cry.
Yeah.
You get used to what is a normal cry, and then
Right.
suddenly, oh wow, something's wrong.
Yeah, and then this is something where even when you're doing it and you are staying away when the baby's crying, you're still monitoring. So you're saying like, is my baby able to do this? And then after an hour or so, like, have they been able to put themselves to sleep this way?
Right.
And then if not, like, let them try again the next night. It's not like just put your baby in a cell and leave your baby there. I do
my
have
cousin
another
did
one.
that. I'm going to throw my cousin under the bus. My cousin Megan, she's tough.
Yeah, just
She's
put him.
Well, she would use those baby monitors, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Which I guess are those? Do you think those are common in Korea too?
Oh yeah. And
Okay.
I think there's the ones you just hook them up to your phone now, and
It's
then
like a walkie-talkie, but now
Yeah.
it goes to your phone.
yeah, and then it'll even alert you when sounds are happening. It'll like
Right.
buzz for you. It's very high tech these days.
We are way beyond the search engine at this point.
Yes, we are.
Very good. Very good.
And I have
So-
one
yeah.
more clip.
Go ahead.
And this one, I mentioned Becky Kennedy earlier. She's a psychologist. And this one, actually, she had a TED Talk. And so you can look this one up. It's a very popular one. The title of it is very grandiose. It was called The Single Most Important Parenting Strategy.
Well, I better listen then.
And so listen up, everybody. Here it is.
Whenever a parent asks me, what one parenting strategy should I focus on? I always say the same thing: get good at repair. So, what is repair? Repair is the act of going back to a moment of disconnection, taking responsibility for your behavior, and acknowledging the impact it had on another. And I want to differentiate a repair from an apology, because one apology often looks to shut a conversation down. Hey, I'm sorry I yelled. Can we move on now? A good repair opens one up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good distinction at the end. I had to wait
Yeah.
for the end to get the distinction there.
I'm giving you just a little 30-second clip from a lot. So just to
Right.
give you a little bit of context about what she's talking about. She's talking about when you have fights with your children. And one of the nice
morning.
things that Becky Kennedy does is that she gives, this is what I'm saying, is the trend these days is like you come out and you say, I have these problems like you do. Right? She doesn't come out like, I'm an expert, listen to me. She comes out and she says, I yelled at my 2-year-old son this morning.
What a terrible mother.
Yeah, and you go like, this person's just like me.
Right, that's the idea.
And then she goes, but here's things that we can all do, and I make mistakes, and she makes like kind of little jokes about her own parenting as well. So she's very personable that way. But what she's saying is that all parents are eventually going to snap. You are going to have harsh words for your children. But it's important to not just say,
Yeah,
listen,
at
I
least 10
yelled
times a
at
day.
you. It happens. You were being bad, and I'm sorry. Like, all right. Like, some people won't even do that. Like,
True. I never heard
Yeah.
sorry from my parents. Did you?
no.
Sorry. Why would I apologize to you?
Yeah. You're the reason I yelled at you.
Yeah, right.
And then, so that's apologizing. And then beyond that is what she's saying is what you do is you go, how did that make you feel when I yelled at you when you didn't finish your cereal this morning? How did that make you feel?
Yeah.
And then, the kid, says, like, you look so angry, and, like, I felt so, like you were going to make an angry face at me, and I
You
felt
were
very
going to eat
scared.
my cereal in
Yeah.
front of me.
Whatever it is. And then you start the conversation, and it gets like you emotionally connect. So the repair is actually your relationship. You're emotionally repairing between you.
I think
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. And I think she made a very short point. Like you said, this is from a TED Talk, so it's probably much longer. But she made a short point about it. The idea is you don't want to shut down the conversation, right? Whereas if you say, I'm sorry, it's like it's over. I'm sorry. Okay, you forgive me or not, I don't know. But if you do it this way, the idea is you want to encourage your child to talk about how they feel, right? Do you ever try this kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. So this, I really like this, and I wanted to play this one because this one is something that I found from experience is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And it's not like I do it all the time, but then sometimes I'll say, man, I really kind of flew off the edge on that particular issue. And then like later I'll kind of open up a conversation and be like, sorry, I yelled like that. Here's what my side was. This is where I was coming from.
Right.
And then you can actually see them kind of flip out of it because they were in this thing where it was like, he was angry with me. And so I was like angry back.
Right.
And you can see him kind of flip out of it and be like, let me just explain my emotions. And then once you develop that habit, it becomes more of a routine where you kind of express how you feel to each other.
Right.
Rather than just angry, more angry, and then most angry.
Right.
and
I
then-
win.
Yeah, and then door slam, and I won that whole argument. Yeah.
Right. This is something without actually listening to this advice, but perhaps I've read something similar elsewhere. I have tried this, especially with our son, who's about 7 now. Oh, bad father. So yeah, I've had to try to, sometimes I make mistakes and say things that I don't mean, and when I'm angry, and then later I will, after some time, and be like, all right, I said this, but I really didn't mean that. That was the wrong thing to say. The reason I said it is this.
Yeah.
And then how do you feel? Are you
Right.
okay with that? Do you understand why? And yeah, it's much more helpful because, yeah, it's weird. Like you said, they kind of flip. It's suddenly they're like not just like, I don't like you anymore. Daddy's the worst. Instead, they're kind of like, oh, well, Sean, my son, he actually feels a little more comfortable in saying how he felt. So, yeah, this is something I'm going to do more, I think.
Yeah, it is good to be mindful of. And I did promise that we were going to talk a little bit about the things you should be careful about.
Oh, please.
And so, one thing with this is that I find that a lot of the advice that might work I have 2 children, so a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. I have advice that works for one and not the other.
Right.
And so, like, if you're looking at the advice, like, it works for somebody's kids online, and there are a lot of people, like, upvoting it.
Right.
And it doesn't work for you, and you're like, what's wrong with me? It doesn't
I'm the worst
always
parent
work.
ever.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's not the case.
Even if between the 2 kids, like, you have different strategies. So that's one thing is, like, you gotta take a step back and be like, my kid is not like every other kid.
Right.
The second thing is that they're edited, right? So that the reality of what's happening might be very different. And I think the reason that that's important to realize is that I think a lot of people will see these kinds of things. Part of the reason that people don't like to follow these kinds of accounts is that it makes them feel bad about the way that they're parenting.
Right here. I got my hand raised.
There he is.
I feel terrible every time I see somebody giving advice.
Yeah, because everything looks so perfect. Like, the kids are angels.
Right.
Like, for example, in preparation for this, I watched one video, and there was the mommy influencer. She was like, let me show you what my morning routine is.
Oh,
and then she walked over to this magnetic calendar.
Right.
And she had a song, and she's like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And, like, she sits her children down, and then she's like moving. What day is it today? Today it is Wednesday. And I'm like, you're doing this every morning with your own children?
She's not. There's no way.
And that's what she's saying.
Maybe she is.
And then they sing every song with her. They're learning the days of the week. And I'm like, wow.
Right.
I'm looking over, and do they know the song to the days of the week? And I'm like, I'm a terrible dad. But yeah, like you said, she's not necessarily doing that every morning.
I don't think
so. And you don't need to compare yourself to what's going on there.
That's the big issue with social media to begin with.
Yes.
Right? It is like a chance to compare yourself to everybody else and just make yourself feel bad. So be aware of that,
Yes.
because that's something that we all deal with no matter what age. I think your advice today also fits in many situations, not just parenting.
That's
right?
true, yeah.
Be careful about what information you get for whatever problem it is.
That's true.
Especially if it's from social media.
Yes.
So look for accreditation, look for reputation. Right. Very good. Michael Garrett, this was a lot of fun. And of course, you'll be back to do this next week.
I will, and I look forward to seeing you then.
I will see you then, good sir. And we're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Giant Steps by Braids, and we'll be back at 3 p.m.
Your Bridge to the World. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 알 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
부산영어 방송에서는 글로벌 허브 도시 부산의 차세대 글로벌 리더들을 위한 청소년 영어 말하기 대회를 개최합니다.
BFM has organized the English speech contest for the next leaders of the global hub city, Busan.
전통이 숨쉬는 문화교육 특구, 동래구의 청소년 홍보대사들이 이야기하는 세계 속의 도시로 발돋움할 동네는 어떤 모습일까요?
From the inspiring stories of the final 10 students of Dongdaegu, one of the representative cities in Busan, we can draw the future of Dongdae as well look forward to the bright future of the global hub city, Busan.
치열한 예선을 거쳐 선발된 최종 10명의 본선 대결, 그리고 참가 학생 모두가 함께 도전하는 팀 대항 퀴즈를 통해 지역 청소년들이 꿈꾸는 동네와 부산의 미래를 그려봅니다.
We invite you to the Dongdaegu English Speech Contest with BFM, the finals.
8월 24일 오후 2시 부산교육대학교에서 열리는 부산영어방송과 함께하는 동래구 영어 말하기 대회에 여러분의 많은 관심 부탁드립니다.
This event is hosted by Dongdae District Office and organized by BFM, 부산영어방송.
The time is now 3 o'clock.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. I'm your host, Casey McKeever. You just heard the song Couldn't I Just Tell You by Todd Rundgren. I like that. Todd Rundgren's songs, there's a couple of popular songs he's got like that with like weird beginnings and endings. And that song, actually, another similar song was he had a big breakthrough hit called I Saw the Light. You might be familiar with the song. And his record company decided that this song, Couldn't I Just Tell You, should be the follow-up single to that. Sometimes the record companies don't know, and that single bombed. So for the next single, they decided to edit the LP version of Hello, It's Me, another classic song of his, and release that instead and provided Todd Rundgren with a top 5 hit. So the song you just heard, Couldn't I Just Tell You, was never a hit. It actually became a huge staple on FM radio and ended up being one of Todd's most influential recordings as a solo artist. You never know how it will go with songs. Sometimes they become successful much, much later in their own way. And the coolest part is, I think, Rundgren took a jab at his own record company in the liner notes to the album. He wrote about this particular song, quote unquote, the hits just keep on coming. So take that, record company. You don't know everything, right? You're listening to us here on BEFM 90.5 in Busan and 103.3 FM in the Gijang, Jeongwan, and Noksan areas. We're broadcasting in Seoul on TBS EFM 101.3 FM and in Gwangju at GGN 98.7 FM. And thank you so much for joining us wherever you might be today on this Thursday afternoon. We've got a lot for you left in the show. In hour number 2, we're going to talk about the daily list for today. The topic is great Korean dishes, and I'm going to let you know. You have mentioned some of the comments I've got. You've hit on a few of them, what they consider to be great Korean dishes. I don't think they've hit them all, though. I think there's quite a few that are left that people may not realize that are considered great Korean dishes, so I'll share those with you. And after that, we're going to have Inside Korea. We do this every Wednesday and Thursday. We talk about some news or events or culture, things that are happening here in South Korea, just to kind of give us an update on what's going on. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is Korean food, making it to Spain, a Korean snack shop, actually. So we'll talk about that. Really interesting stuff. And also, we've got our perfect playlist at the end of the show. We do this every day. This week, our theme has been songs about freedom, so we'll have 2 more songs on the topic of freedom for you today. And of course, if you send a message, I would love to check it. Hopefully, I'll have a chance to answer on the air if possible. The question of the day is, what Korean food would you really like to introduce to foreign friends and why? 외국인 친구에게 꼭 소개하고 싶은 한국 음식과 그 이유는 무엇인가요? And I got a message from Insunim saying, samgyeopsal. Classic. I actually introduced that to my friends while they were here visiting from Moldova. They're Moldovan, living in Ireland. Long story short, whatever culture you might want to consider them from, samgyeopsal was definitely something they enjoyed. Another message also from Jogumtong, who actually says about samgyeopsal. I love scorched rice, aka nurungji, and pork belly, or also known as samgyeopsal. But some foreigners told me that they don't get the idea of burnt rice and low-quality pork. This is something I didn't really consider. Is samgyeopsal usually low-quality pork? I didn't know. I'm not sure. I have to reevaluate how I feel about samgyeopsal. Is it indeed low quality? For me, it's high on taste. So there's always that. And it is a little bit cheaper than other cuts of meat. So perhaps there's something to that. I was completely unaware. But nurungji, I can totally get behind. I guess maybe if you tell somebody that, here, take this bowl of burnt rice, or actually my favorite thing with nurungji is when you add it with water and kind of drink it. If you tell them that it's burnt rice, maybe they're not going to be, too interested in trying it. But if you don't tell them that, and you're just like, hey, this is called nurungji, and give it to them and see what they think. I don't know. I can't imagine not liking that, but maybe I'm just kind of used to that flavor. Very curious, yes. So let me know. Do you have any kind of Korean food you would really like to introduce to foreign friends? Send us a text here at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 100 won. You can reach us for free on KakaoTalk if you search BEFM or 부산영어방송. You can just add us there on the app and send us messages for free. And also we have our very own smartphone app. If you go to the App Store on your phone, doesn't matter what phone, doesn't matter what App Store, you can search BEFM or 부산영어방송. Download the app and you can listen to the show wherever you go. That's a bonus. And you can also log in and send us comments there as well. And you can also message us on the NoTube there. I'll be happy to look at your messages there as well. however you want to contact me, feel free. Let me know how you're doing today. We made it almost all the way through the week, right? How are you holding up? It's been a long week for me as well. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to the song Hallelujah, I Love Her So by Ray Charles, and then we'll be back with today's Daily List.
Babe, I'm a little fool for you, little girl.
You're listening to the 2 p.m. Reboot, and that song was Hallelujah, I Love Her So by Ray Charles. Classic tune from Mr. Charles there. Now it is time for our daily list, and today's daily list, as you might have heard, is going to be about great Korean dishes. So this is a list we've compiled, and you can feel free to disagree or add your own, but these are what are considered to be great Korean dishes. First up, this is one that has been mentioned by one of the listeners, bibimbap, which I guess the translation is basically mixed rice. They call it Korean mixed rice. I guess the key to bibimbap is it has a lot of flavor and it has a lot of color, right? It's kind of an interesting food to look at. I remember trying it for the first time while I was attending the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina. There was like a small Korean restaurant there. I had no idea what bibimbap was. I just remember seeing like rice with a lot of like things on it and an egg on top. And at first I was like, all right, I don't know how to eat it. Like, what do I do? Because I don't know. There were no instructions included. But now that I've lived here for quite a while, I know bibim is key, right? You got to mix it up, right? So if you've never had it, actually, it's a very warm, savory dish. There's a number of ways it can be served, but generally it's supposed to be fresh, seasoned vegetables, also vegetables typically in season. There's typically some kind of diced meat. Sometimes it might be ham. Sometimes it might be like kind of like almost like a hamburger type meat. And then you usually will have fried kelp, which doesn't sound appealing in English, but it's delicious, to be honest. You mix all of that with white rice and a dollop of gochujang, which is usually translated as red pepper paste. One of the most popular Korean dishes, both locally here and globally. But for me, would I consider it a great Korean dish? I'm not sure. I don't know if it would make my list. It's it's like a mainstay. It is like, if you've never tried Korean food, you should definitely try it. but it's not one that I go to quite often, to be honest. Number 2 on the list is bulgogi. And bulgogi is basically thinly sliced marinated meat. You typically, it's going to be beef when people say bulgogi, but of course there is pork as another possibility, and chicken even they say on the list. I don't know. Chicken bulgogi, is that something you've had? I don't know if I've ever had chicken bulgogi, but okay. Beef bulgogi I lived on for like the first 2 months I lived in Korea because it was just delicious and I hadn't really tried anything like it. The seasoning is key. The marinating is key. It's made up of a variety of vegetables, but the seasoning and marinade itself is actually mixed up with like different fruit and vegetables, apparently. I guess that's where the sweetness comes from. And then the meat, of course, is grilled. Bulgogi is definitely one of the staple Korean dishes if you're dining out, usually paired with rice to soak up the gravy, because come on, gravy is where it's at, right? Also, people commonly enjoy bulgogi with apparently a glass or 2 of soju, but don't drink too much, right? You don't want to drink too much. Next up, number 3 on the list, kimchi jjigae or kimchi stew. That looks good to me. I have a very strict opinion about kimchi jjigae. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. This is definitely a favorite of the home-cooked variety of meals for Koreans. People like to prepare this hearty stew with fermented sour kimchi. The more sour, the better. I totally am of that opinion. And this is something families just kind of love to share. I think it's kind of like a comfort food for Korean people. People associate it with the Korean term jung. So would that be comfort food for you? You can also find it, of course, in a lot of Korean restaurants, usually served with pork belly, in my opinion. Also possible beef, possible with canned tuna, possible with like luncheon meat, that kind of like not quite ham that you can get. And all of those, the idea is to enhance the full-bodied flavor of the kimchi stew. My opinion, feel free to debate me, pork belly is the way to go. Kimchi jjigae has got to have pork in it for me. That's my choice. Let me know if you agreed or disagree. We're here to debate. It's okay. Number 4 on the list, galbijim. This is another favorite of mine, actually. Okay, this one would be on my list. Galbijim is basically braised short ribs. How you make it, it's a large pot of pork or beef short ribs, steamed with soy sauce, pepper, sugar, a number of vegetables that usually include potatoes and carrots, especially at our house, onion as well. And the idea is you want to get the rib meat to fall off the bone. And if it doesn't, somebody didn't do their job. This is usually served on special occasions like family gatherings or national holidays like New Year's Day or Chuseok. And New Year's Day is typically called Sala, right? Here, that New Year's Day. Galbijim is definitely kind of the representative food for family affection, and I think I agree with that. Next up on the list, Haemul Pajan. I had this for the last 2 days. So this is definitely something I enjoy. And if you've been in Korea for any time, you probably know that people love this on rainy days. You'll find people enjoying pajeon such as this. Haemul pajeon is seafood pancake, but there's a different kinds of jeon as well. Pajeon usually means the green onion, right? Pa, I guess that's where that comes from. Pa, green onion pancake. But people often enjoy this with makgeolli. Me too. That was, I think that was Dinner Tuesday. So I definitely enjoy that. And the sizzling sound that comes from the mixture of the seafood, the chives, and the batter, all deep fried in oil. Is that where the name jijim comes from? Is that why we call it jijim here in the South? It definitely creates a pleasant harmony with the sound of the rain. And it's also usually served with kimchi or potatoes instead of seafood. I don't think I've ever had the potato jeon variety, but perhaps. But this is definitely something you can enjoy to kind of warm yourself up on a cold, rainy day. Next up, we've got tteokbokki. Tteokbokki, 떡, 쌍디귿. 어렵죠. Tteokbokki is, they call it rice cake, which might be misleading to anybody who's lived in the United States. There's rice cakes that are completely different, but this is the spicy stir-fried variety of rice cakes you'll find here in Korea. Very common street food. It's especially spicy down here in Busan, more so than other places I've had it. And it's actually, I didn't know this. It was only consumed by royal families on New Year's Day back in the day. But the well-known modern version of this actually came out in the 1970s. So a chef kind of replaced the original soy sauce paste with red pepper paste and added ingredients like cabbage and fish skin to the sauce. Delightful. It works. Trust me, it works. It's usually served piping hot from street stalls. And if you're bringing friends to Korea and you're like, hey, how much spice you want to handle right now. This is a good test. You can give them a try. Then I think they'll like it. Finally on the list, we've got 제육볶음. This is spicy stir-fried pork. This is basically marinated in sweet and spicy red pepper and ginger. And it's affectionately known as a rice thief among Koreans because it pairs beautifully with steaming bowls of rice. Oh, I've never heard that. That's cool. The sweet seasoning and gravy kind of ooze in collaboration with green onion that's all fried together with the pork. You can find this pretty much everywhere throughout Korea, and especially in Korean restaurants around the world as well. It is really popular for a lunchtime choice for business people looking for something satisfying, but usually also at a reasonable price. So those are our food for today's list and the daily list of great Korean food. I saw a couple of others that were mentioned here I wanted to share real quick. Let's see, from 5358님. This was not on the list. I would include it on my list. 돼지국밥입니다. 외국인들이 엄지척하는 음식입니다. I totally agree. I've never seen anybody who's like, I can't eat 돼지국밥, unless they're like a vegetarian. That I completely understand. Vegetarians and vegans, stay clear of 돼지국밥, but I agree. 돼지국밥 would be on my personal list of great Korean food. So thank you for the message. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to You're Still the One by Teddy Swims, and then we'll be back with Inside Korea. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard the song You're Still the One by Teddy Swims. And now it is time for Inside Korea. We do this every Wednesday and Thursday. We talk about some news or events or some cultural things that are going on here in Korea just to kind of get an update on where things are. And we're going to talk about food. Surprise, surprise. Our first story today is that Hong Jin-kyung has opened a Korean snack shop in Spain to promote Korean cuisine. So if you're not familiar, Hong Jin-kyung is a model turned TV personality who has announced that she opened a Korean snack shop in Spain to offer popular light meals such as gimbap. Gimbap wasn't on the list. Interesting. Gimbap is like staple Korean food. If you're not familiar with gimbap, I guess you don't know much about Korean food, but basically it's like a rice rolled in seaweed, right? So tteokbokki is one we talked about on the list there, the spicy rice cakes and noodles. So that is the offering. It's kind of like, I guess that'd be like bunshik, right? That kind of food, right? So on Thursday, there was a video titled, "Why Did Hong Jin-kyung Open a Korean Snack Shop in Spain?" posted on her video channel. In the video, Hong said, basically, after running a food company for 25 years, I have always dreamed of starting a Korean restaurant franchise to introduce our cuisine to the world. And there was a fateful meeting with former TV presenter Son Mina that led to the opening of this snack shop in Spain. She said, "It's kind of a mix of excitement and worry as I'm starting something new in an unfamiliar place, but I'm preparing with all my heart. I hope that our passion for spreading Korean cuisine reaches not only our subscribers, but also people around the world." And the video actually shows Hong meeting Son Mina at Barcelona airport. Cool city. I recommend if you've never been. Barcelona's very cool. Son said, "I've been importing and selling olive oil from Spain. When Hong Jin-kyung appeared on a video channel and recommended olive oil as a product, her sincerity shone through. I felt I had to give her a bottle of olive oil as a gift, so I called her and we had a deep conversation during our first meeting." I mean, if you're going to meet in Spain, that's one thing you could bond over, olive oil. It's a very, very famous product from the area, right? Someone said that Spain is an intriguing opportunity because the market for Korean food there is largely still untapped. And I haven't been to Spain in a while, but when I was there, yes, I didn't see any kind of Korean food anywhere. Someone said there's demand and interest, but no major companies have successfully entered the market. Unfortunately, some opportunists have filled the gap with misinformation, like claiming kimchi is a Chinese sauce. Kimchi is neither a sauce nor Chinese, is it? That's why it's crucial to approach this with a sense of mission. Spain could be a land of opportunity. So with Son's help, Hong has successfully navigated the complex permitting process. I'm sure that's not easy to open a business in another country. But they also had to meet with business partners and personally showcase Korean dishes like fried rice and dumplings, which were all well received. When they mentioned the high cost of mango bingsu, I was just talking about that with somebody yesterday. Mango bingsu 너무 비싸요. If you've never had it, pot bingsu is the more traditional variety, but mango bingsu, oh my goodness, the price of that is insane. Someone suggested creating kimchi ice cream instead. I don't know if that would go over well. But Son did say her plan to introduce Korean food to Montserrat Monastery is also in effect. She says, "I want to bring Hong Jin-kyung and my Korean cuisine to the monastery. I believe the chances are high. It was difficult just to arrange this meeting, especially since it's their summer vacation, but they agreed to come." Typically, if they show up, that's a good sign, right? So that's a good sign if people actually come to the meeting. That means there's at least interest. What do you think? Will Korean food go over well in Spain? I'm going to say yes. Having tried a little bit of Spanish cuisine, I think anything spicy is like really not out of the question for Spanish people. And, peppery, I think that would kind of fit into what Spanish people enjoy. I could be completely wrong. You never know, like when you introduce food to another culture, how people will take it. Jeogum-tong, for example, actually saying that somebody from Germany said they did not like pork with so many white stripes in it when talking about samgyeopsal. I noticed the same thing when I went back to the United States. People typically remove fat from the meat even before they cook it. And I was like, oh man, I just eat that now. I'll eat it. I'll eat that fat. So yes, some things you never know, but I think totally worth a try. So that's going to be our first our first story for Inside Korea today. And we're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Lunch by Billie Eilish, and then we'll be back with our next story.
I could eat that girl for
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot, and we're back with Inside Korea. That song was Lunch by Billie Eilish. I don't think she was talking about 제육볶음, but very interesting song nonetheless. Before that song, we were talking about how Korean food is kind of moving to Spain, or that's the attempt, right? Our second story is about kind of attracting people here to Korea. The second story for today in Inside Korea is the Culture Ministry is launching a Korean bucket list event for foreign tourists. So the Culture Ministry will hold this event aimed at enriching the travel experience for international tourists who are here. The event's going to be co-hosted by the Korea Tourism Organization and will run from September 1st to November 10th. It's basically designed to showcase the country's diverse attractions to about 20,000 international tourists. That seems like a large group of people to me. How will they pick them? There's going to be a lucky draw. That was very New York. There's a lucky draw that's going to be held prior to their arrival during that time period. And the program is basically part of a broader strategy to fulfill the government's goal of attracting 20 million inbound visitors by the end of the year. That's a fairly big goal, is it not? So the Korean bucket list is one way to do this, and it's going to offer participants a unique opportunity to immerse themselves in all kinds of Korean cultural experiences at no cost. And that's how you get people's attention for sure. So how do you participate? Well, if you have somebody you know who's going to visit Korea, you can tell them to apply through the event's website, which is koreabucketlist.com. And they basically are going to select their preferred activities from a list of 36 actually, different enticing programs. Nothing boring, right? It should all be exciting, right? If it's a bucket list, for sure. So if the participants are selected, they're going to enjoy a range of activities. That includes K-pop dance lessons, recording sessions of K-pop songs, traditional market tours, temple stays, all kinds of good stuff. And the event also offers idol style makeovers. So if you want to look like a K-pop idol, this could be for you. You think I could pull it off? Not sure. Okay, but also another possibility, you can have a wellness resort accommodation stay. So there's a lot of different cool things that they could try. And to encourage exploration beyond Seoul, the government will also provide 100 domestic flight tickets to foreign tourists in cooperation with the Korea Airports Corporation. So yeah, it won't be Seoul-centric for everything. There could be a whole lot of places that people might end up going to, perhaps right down here in Busan. The flights will connect Seoul's Gimpo Airport to airports in regions popular among foreign tourists such as Yeosu, Pohang, Gyeongju, and Jeju, according to the ministry. I think we'll be on the list too. I will check. We'll update that for sure. But it sounds like a really interesting program. So if you or anybody you know are interested in coming to Korea to check this out, yeah, definitely recommend. Check out the event website, koreabucketlist.com. See if they can be one of the lucky winners who can immerse themselves in Korean culture at no cost. Very cool. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to the song, very appropriate, Bucket List by Mitchell Tenpenny, and then we'll be back with our perfect playlist. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Bucket List by Mitchell Tenpenny, and it got me thinking about my bucket list. I was like, there's a lot of things I want to do today. Yes, I got things to do today on my bucket list today. Eat some good Korean food. I've been thinking so much about food today. I'm starving. I apologize if you haven't had lunch for some reason. We've been talking about food a lot today. However, right now it is time for our perfect playlist. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, and we have a theme for you every week. This week's theme has been songs about freedom. So we'll forget about food for a little bit, right? We'll think about freedom instead. Our first song about freedom is called Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder. The song was released in 1983 and quickly rose to the top of the charts. It's about a man who's determined not to let anything get in the way of his happiness. Despite the obstacles he faces, he remains positive and optimistic, believing that he will eventually achieve his goals. The song has an upbeat tempo and a catchy melody. That's what made it an instant classic. And its message of determination and resilience is one that continues to resonate with listeners today. And you can be the judge of that yourself, right? This one I'm familiar with. This is a really good one. And our second song for today, also a really good song. This is Blackbird by the Beatles. Any aspiring guitarist who wants to learn acoustic guitar will probably make an attempt at this. I think there's a funny bit with, what's his name, Fred Armisen playing Blackbird very poorly. But this song is a beautiful song written and played by Paul McCartney. Yes, a lot of people may not know that Paul McCartney also did play guitar on a lot of the Beatles tracks, and this is one of them. The opening melody, especially played on acoustic guitar by McCartney, is in the key of G major. This is followed by a middle section in which the harmony moves to D major. I guess they don't write them like they used to, huh? But McCartney was well known for his melody and use of chord progressions as well. So yeah, genius, right? The final section returns to G major. See if you can spot the changes. Blackbird, however, lyrically was inspired by the call of a blackbird that McCartney heard while he was staying at a farm in Scotland. That's not where the song ended, though. That was just the inspiration. He said the lyrics were actually about the struggle for freedom and can be interpreted, as it were, as a reference to the civil rights movement. So really interesting. What sounds like a simple song about a bird might be something much more. Those are our two songs about freedom today. First up, we've got Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder, followed by Blackbird by the Beatles. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard the song Blackbird by the Beatles, and before that was Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder. And I highly recommend, if you've never seen it, look up Fred Armisen performing Blackbird by the Beatles. I don't know, it made me laugh just like thinking about it. It's just slightly off and therefore funny. So I've got some messages about today's question of the day I would like to share. Today's question was, what Korean food do you really want to introduce to your foreign friends and why? 외국인 친구에게 꼭 소개하고 싶은 한국 음식과 그 이유는 무엇인가요? So I got a message about a whole list of noodle dishes here from Ben Nim. Some of the lesser known dishes to foreigners are makguksu, love it. 모밀국수, love it. 콩국수, love it. janchiguksu, I like it. And jolmyeon, I like it. So yes, there are a lot of dishes that we did not mention. I would say none of those are spicy particularly, right? Those are pretty mild dishes. I did order kongguksu with a foreign friend of mine who just couldn't believe what I was eating. So I don't know if all foreigners would like that. It's hard to say. It's hard to guess what people will like. But yes, I would put a lot of those noodle dishes on my list of great Korean food for sure. And I think at least some of them foreign friends would appreciate. And, I guess a lot of times it depends on where people are from, right? Actually, Jogum-tong was talking about the popularity of, Korean food in Spain. Would it work? Well, why not? Because according to Jogum-tong, there are at least a dozen Korean restaurants in Berlin alone, so only in that part of Germany. And I don't know how you say this. Wroclaw? Is that how you say it? W in Polish is usually pronounced as a V, right? So Wroclaw, Poland is actually emerging as the city with the best Korean restaurants. I was completely unaware of that. I'm learning a lot about Poland this week. Thank you for the info. I am definitely well aware. I've read this in the news recently about the popularity of Korean food and Korean restaurants in general in specifically New York City and Los Angeles. I know that's a big trend these days. So yeah, you never know where things are going to take off. And with that in mind, we're talking about noodles. So why not? We're going to play one more song. We're going to listen to the song Chicken Noodle Soup by J-Hope featuring Becky G.
I let it rain, I clear it out.
You're listening to the 2 p.m. Reboot, and that song was Chicken Noodle Soup by J-Hope featuring Becky G. And I was just thinking, yeah, chicken noodle soup in Korean, I guess, would be takkalguksu, right? I'm a big fan of that. I was thinking, when I was, the first time I heard that song, I always think of like American chicken noodle soup, maybe comes in a can. But no, the Korean version I much prefer. So yes, chicken noodle soup, something I can enjoy in any country, to be honest. I mean, who doesn't like chicken noodle soup? Is there anybody out there that doesn't like it? I don't know. Possible. I got a message from Lee Kelly Nim also saying, I keep saying it, but definitely dodokgui is a uniquely Korean dish that in my opinion doesn't get the recognition that it should. And if you're not familiar, dodok, is a root. But when you season it, I guess it feels like almost like you're eating meat. So I was looking that up and I was thinking, have I had that before? If you look at dodokgui, it looks like, it kind of looks like meat. It almost looks like that pork bulgogi, right? It looks like that red fiery color. And I guess I've had this maybe with like bosam. Maybe is it often served with that? Oh, there it is. Yes, I'm pretty sure I've had that as well. And I've just had like plain dodok as well. I'll eat it anyway. Doesn't matter. Would every foreigner appreciate that? Maybe. That's definitely something people should definitely try. It's healthy at the very least, right? Thank you for all of your messages today concerning Korean food. I am so hungry. I got to get out of here. I've got to wrap up the show so I can go eat. I appreciate all the participation. Thanks so much for listening to the show. I have been your host, Casey McKeever. Thanks for spending your Thursday afternoon with me. We're going to play one more song for you. This is going to be King of the Silver Screen by Alice Cooper. We'll be back at 2:05 p.m. tomorrow. And of course, stick around for Your Busan.